Hello and welcome to a football podcast with myself, Christian Jack, and Stephen Caldwell. Sean Kay's here. He's going to get to lots of headlines later at Ask AFP. Clay's here as well, our technical masterclass. He's even missing the Oscars for this, so it's a very important night for him. What are we going to chat about today? Well, it's a long list. Liverpool versus Manchester United. Kepa, is it too late to say sorry? Boom. Atlanta United and CONCACAF Champions League. We're going to get some Messi in here. Talk Milan, Europa League, Claude Puel, you're done. Canadians choose Canada. Lots and lots of stuff to get to. But before we get into today's matches, we have another announcement to make. Kyle Becker and Mauricio are confirmed to join us this Thursday, February the 28th at the Rivoli for our live podcast taping. So far, we have Kyle and Manny, also Jonathan Osorio, Justin Morrow. Luke Wildman, our friend, is coming.
Yes.
By the way, he shouldn't be written here as a
Can we ask
headliner.
him questions for once?
Yeah, we're definitely going to do that. And by the way, Sheffield United won again on the weekend. Very impressive victory over West Brom. So, he's just going to be coming very, very happy, looking to talk about
that was a big
Blades.
win. We just called out West Brom as being one of our tips for championship.
And they went there and won it. They were very good by all accounts. Carmelino Moscato is going to be there as well. Great to speak to her. We're going to be talking about the big year for the women's team going towards the 2019 World Cup. So they're the big hitters minus Wildman for Thursday night. They will not be the only guests on the show. We'll also be announcing a handful more over the next few days or so. So head over to ourfootballpodcast.com and get your tickets before they are gone. Where do we start today, Mr. Caldwell? We've got to start at Wembley. Yeah. I think Manchester United and Liverpool fans, don't worry, and Manchester City fans will talk about your title race as well. We will get to the title race, but we have to start at Wembley in terms of
the 119th minute. Should we just start there?
Let's just start there, because I don't know about you, but I watched the entire game. It wasn't great. Chelsea actually
did really well.
They did really well.
Good tactics.
The tactics were far superior. But maybe symbolic of what's going on right now with that club is it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that they played well. It doesn't
Soap opera.
Because in the end, the actions on the side of the field as we click to the 118th, 119th minute, you think you've seen it all in this game. And then we get a moment like that where I'm sure everyone listening is aware of it, but it was one of those like hide behind the sofa moments. Even if you're not a Chelsea fan, it was just squeamish. It was weird to watch. It was awkward. And I don't know, in the end, I'm sure your opinion is pretty level-headed with most of the other players that have been vocal about this on social media.
Yeah.
Just zero tolerance for Kepa's behaviour, no?
Yeah, one of the most bizarre moments I've ever seen in a football game, KJ, and to be in such a high-profile match, being the League Cup final, the Carabao Cup final, was just incredible to watch that happen. And I'm in agreement with you, as I pretty often am, and it was just really uncomfortable and cringy. I wanted it to end, even although the drama was extremely exciting. I just wanted it to end because I felt for Sarri. It was a horrible situation. I don't know where to start. A goalkeeper was down a couple of times, Kepa Arrizabalaga. And it was hard to work out from watching the game what was the issue. It seemed like he had a hamstring strain. We've later found out we think it was cramp in the hamstring, and there was no strain there. So I'm unsure why he kept going down and asking for treatment. He should have just been stretching it. If you've got cramp, you just stretch it, and there's nothing you can do about it until the cramp becomes so much. Then you have to leave the field. And if that was the case, you've got to do the rightful thing for your team and get off the pitch. It was an important moment of the match. It was in his area. Hazard had just had that decent shot that he made a good save. He should have saved it, but he did save it. And then he was down. And in fairness to Sarri, I can see why he wanted the change. The time's ticking out. We're heading to penalty kicks. Caballero has a good record. It's against his former team. There's many things, favouring towards putting Willie Caballero in the goal. And then there was a massive breakdown in communication between the medical staff and Sarri. And that to me is the first thing that we should focus on, KJ. How did that happen at this level of the game? The professionalism of teams playing at this level with the earpieces and the communication and the way that they kind of know every last detail. I'm not certain how that happened in the first place. And Sarri looked like a confused man. 1 minute he was asking for the opinion. There was all sorts going on. And then the inevitable happened when the board went up, Kepa refusing to come off. Just disgusting. Horrible from any player to do that. The shock of a goalkeeper being asked to come off when he felt it was okay was the reason we think that happened.
Yep.
But when your number goes up, KJ, you got to leave the field. It's embarrassing towards your team. It's embarrassing towards you as a professional. It's disrespectful towards your manager. You get off the field. You talk about it later. your number's up. There's no going back from that moment. Once you see your number, whether it's the first minute or the 119th minute, you're off the field. The rules of the game are you leave the field, and refusing to go, and no Chelsea player going up to him and saying get off was another thing that I thought was...
You thought that was interesting, did you?
Very interesting.
Yeah, I saw a few other people tweet that. I think Lee Dixon tweeted that as well. He said no real senior players showing some seniority and saying you've got to move off the field.
I would have went right up to him and said, get off the field, your number's up, there's nothing you can do. Right. He might have been saying, I'm okay, I'm fine, I can carry on. Don't care, your number's up. It's not your choice. A manager decides who plays in the park, and so when that board goes up, you're 1 minute away from penalty kicks. Could be a number of reasons. We saw Louis van Gaal sub a goalkeeper. Tim Krul came on, didn't he? In the World Cup because he was good at penalty kicks. So it's not your decision to make whether you're injured or not.
Right.
And so that for me was the disgusting part. But the lack of communication really concerns me between the medical staff and Mauricio Sarri. Let's
get into all the layers of this then. First of all, the rules. The rules state, because I was talking to a referee about this afternoon, the rule in the book actually says under substitution procedure, if a player who is replaced refuses to leave, play continues. So right away, that is important to note, by the way. And now are we starting off a dangerous slippery slope here? Because if a player doesn't want to come off, you can just say, no, I'm not coming off. And the referee can't make him come off. Now, I'll be honest, I wasn't completely sure of that. Because when I'm watching it, what actually happened was, as you mentioned, the number goes up, Kepa sees his number, and he refuses, says, no. Now, Kepa said after the game that he wasn't saying, I'm refusing the substitution. He was telling him that I'm absolutely fine. So this is clearly of somebody who never would have imagined he'd ever be substituted in a game tactically ever in his life because he's a goalkeeper. I think that's important to note because the mindset of the individual is very different from the 10 outfield players. So lots of quotes from other players, and Vincent Kompany said after the game when he was asked, and as usual, Kompany was classy and said, no, I've never seen that before, and I sometimes thought about doing that myself. But I think it's interesting to note that the mindset of the goalkeeper, when he sees his number come up, he believes he's being substituted strictly because of an injury, which that is a fact.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of other things that weren't factual after what was said by Sarri and Kepa, I think, and they were trying to change the story and make it less drama. But I think it's important that we remember what we witnessed with our own eyes. So the numbers go up, then the number goes down. Then they can't make the substitution because then they're not sure what's going on. Zola's involved. Sarri's having a meltdown on the bench at this point. Then Jonathan Moss runs over to him after speaking to Kepa and runs over to Jonathan Moss, the referee, runs over to the manager and I thought was asking for clarity. And he definitely was asking him what's going on here.
Yeah.
And at that point, that was when the decision came down that he's staying on the field. And I thought if Sarri says you're coming off, then Moss could have helped him come off.
Yeah.
Now that still could have happened, but in the laws of the game, Moss didn't really have any authority to do that. I think if he had told Moss, yes, I want him off, then I think Moss would have helped, but he doesn't have any authority. That's the difference here.
Yeah.
But at that point, I think Sarri didn't think he's going to come off anyway. And he said, just leave him on. And that actually elevated his mental health in terms of his behavior into more of an irrational thought.
Yeah.
He then lost his mind at that point because that then led to the anger, the tension on the feet on the bench with the throwing down of the water bottle. At that point, he's completely out of his actions. I think.
Yeah.
Do you? At that point,
yeah.
I thought was very uncomfortable to watch because I thought he wasn't in control of his emotions. He clearly didn't get what he wanted, and in the end, it was almost, I think, just sacrificing the substitution to highlight the problems with the club and didn't really care at that moment for the consequences of it. Did you?
Yeah, I did. I think that moment he admitted defeat and Kepa wasn't going to leave the field was tragic and really horrible to watch. A guy that I respect a great deal in Mauricio Sarri and who's had just a tumultuous time of late, and when he walked over to the bench, it was horrible to watch. He was furious. He almost ripped his tracksuit top off, didn't he? And then he threw down the water bottle and his notebook or something like that. And then he left the technical area and he started to walk up the tunnel. And I am screaming at the television, come back. If the doors closed and he went into that locker room, which I thought he was going to do, sit in the changing room and not even come back out for the game, there's no way that he can stay in his job. He's basically left the team to their own devices at that moment. Of course, the actions were suggesting that was happening anyway, but he then gets a little bit rational again, the 10-15 seconds of craziness. He comes back, he comes to side, and then he's walking about like a man who's lost his dog. He had no friends, he had nobody near him. he looked just so dejected and lost, and it was, I use the word tragic. It was horrible to watch. I didn't enjoy it, and I don't think I would have liked seeing that from anybody in the game. I like Sarri, I do. I have to say that, and there's something about him that I want to see him do well. So I'm trying to think, even if it was somebody that maybe I don't like, a manager that I don't have a great deal of respect for, I still would have hated to have seen that. That is just a horrible place to be, and the loneliness of being a manager in the first instance. I've heard it from friends of mine in the game. My brother says it all the time. When you're standing on that side, you feel the pressure of that crowd or that situation, the enormity of being the only guy there, and that situation is magnified about 100 times.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide, is there?
No.
Nowhere to hide. And then, unfortunately for them, it continued, because then we've got the unique process of the game being full-time, and then the circumstances of preparing for a penalty shootout where you really need your manager to be stepping up. And at that point, we saw the camera, certainly on the game I was watching, we saw the camera go over to him, and
when he came in the huddle,
and before that, when Rudiger had to stop him from going up to talking to him, and at that point it looked like a really awkward scene out of Coronation Street or something, where the manager's not talking to his goalkeeper, and these guys not going to get on. It's going to be a fight. You know what I mean? Like, it was really tense. It
was horrible.
It was very horrible. Azpilicueta moves Kepa over one side. Rudiger talks to the manager of the other side.
Rudiger was great.
It was very good. I thought he was very good in the game. To be honest.
It
was. Both centre backs were very good, I thought. But then the penalty shootout takes place after as you mentioned. I think the next thing we should talk about was the huddle. And on one side, you've got Guardiola motivating his players, focusing on what's going to happen, with clarity, picking the players. And on the other side, you've got Sarri just hanging out and then kind of just begrudgingly walking over to give that final team talk right before, which seemed a bit forced at that point. Didn't really want it.
No.
And then even once the shootout had happened, I saw a different camera when it was over, where Sarri was surrounded by nobody, was near nobody. Manchester City celebrate, and then Sarri walks off on his own. He would come back, but he was clearly an isolated man at that point. It was dysfunction in all areas that I think we've always wondered about Chelsea, but most of the time happens behind closed doors. But it was there, clear for everybody to see. And I think that would be, if I'm a Chelsea fan, would be enormously concerning, because those kind of things you can't hide away no matter what they said after the game.
No, it was. We speculate so much about what goes on the training field and behind the scenes at Chelsea, and we seem to think it's a changing room of complete dysfunction. we saw it play out in front of our eyes for the first time. It was happening there in front of us. There was factions within the team. Azpilicueta went right to Kepa, and Rudiger tries to stop his manager Sarri. So you see the little factions and the little cliques within the team, and then you just see a guy who's just lost everything. He's a man with a great deal of experience, maybe not quite at that level, but he's been an experienced coach for a number of years in the Italian league, and we just see him walking around on his own. And when he came into that huddle, it was 4 seconds, was it? A couple of little bits, and Guardiola's in the middle of his, and he's motivating, and the unity within Manchester City, in complete contrast to what was happening with Chelsea, was just magnifying it and making it even worse. And I never like to see things like that. I keep going back to it. It was like a bit of a nightmare for me just to watch it, as some people maybe like the drama of that and feed off it, but I was very uncomfortable watching that. And I think that whether they won the penalty shootout or not, it was 50-50, as they always are, but the damage that was done by the 6, 7, 8 minutes, whatever it was, from the moment Kepa said he wasn't going to come off till the penalties were finished, probably a little bit longer, was tragic. And I don't know how Sarri survives this. Okay, well,
you've been a captain at Wembley in a big game like that. If that happens and you're the captain and you get back to the dressing room after you've lost and you've got your losers medals, what are you doing? What's the first thing you're doing when you get in that room?
We're having an inquest right away.
So you're because I'm not sure if Sarri's calling it.
I'm calling out my player. Right. Yeah, I'm calling out my player because I'm in charge of the players. I'm the captain, and so what happens between the coaches is not really my responsibility. And I'm definitely not calling out my coach in front of everybody. Right. I am his go-between between the players and his coach, him and his coaching staff. So I'm going right for Kepa, and I'm asking why he didn't leave the field, because like I said at the start of this conversation, when your number comes up, no matter what minute, what you think of that, how fit you think you feel or how well you think you are playing, a decision has been made that you are to leave the field. You walk off. It's very hurtful or emotional in a cup final. You're the goalkeeper, you think you're heading to... I don't care. I don't care, KJ, if you're Lionel Messi, whoever you are, you've scored a hat-trick. I don't care whatever scenario it is. Once your number goes up, you get off the field. So I'm going right in. I'm calling out my goalkeeper. I wouldn't have let it get to the changing room. I have to say, I would have been right over to him during the game saying, get off the field. Yeah. Your number's up, get off the field. And, you know, I didn't really see anybody do that. I don't know if there was maybe some shock there from the players. It's all I can think about. And maybe they're just worrying about their own tired legs, tired minds, and heading towards a penalty shootout when you do get a little bit selfish at that moment in the game because you just want to do your job. You're thinking you might take a penalty. You want to kind of focus on you. That's the only excuse I can make for a David Luiz or a Cesar Azpilicueta or an Eden Hazard for not going over to Kepa and say, please get off the field, leave the field, your number's up.
Now, would you have done that? And I think I know the answer, but I think it needs to be asked. Would you have done that even if, and I know you've had managers this way, even if you thought the manager was wrong and you didn't respect him?
Yes.
Right.
100%.
But do you think that may have been one of the reasons why Chelsea didn't do that? Because, listen, you know, the environment people live in, no matter what life, is the environment they learn to live in and respect and basically take advantage of. Yeah. And Kepa has been there, 6 months. But what have we said about Chelsea for years? Yeah. We've said that this is the environment that we've watched as outsiders, as jurors for many times, that we know we've come down on the verdict many times about this. The culture of the club is broken. Yeah. Without question. Now they can fire managers and bring in a different manager. Most of the same players and the same personalities are still there. And Jose Mourinho couldn't get them going. Roberto Di Matteo, Andre Villas-Boas. Mourinho twice in the end fell on his sword. Scolari, Conte, Carlo Ancelotti, Mauricio Sarri. So,
Hiddink.
You know what I mean? We go
the best of the best.
On and on. Okay? So now you've got what I would have said if you'd have lined up 11 players on that board and you said, okay, who are the main guys at this club? Kepa would have been one of the lowest ones in terms of general.
24 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Young goalkeeper having a tough time.
Already showing publicly a lack of respect. And he can say whatever he wants after the game. It was a confusion. Rubbish. Okay, you're showing a lack of respect for the leader of the club, aren't you, by not doing it?
Yeah, you are.
And so that, for me, says a lot more about the club. Sarri could be sacked tomorrow. If people listen to this, that might happen, but the problem doesn't go away.
No,
the problem doesn't go away with that club, and they need to figure it out because they could be brilliant, they could be amazing, but they're one of the most boom and bust clubs in world football, and they're a roller coaster. And sometimes it's great, but a lot of times lately they've been on the ground.
Yeah, they have been, and it's because player power, isn't it? It doesn't happen quite as publicly as it does anywhere else in the world. The players seem to be in control of the situation, and I'm not on the inside, KJ. I can't answer that. I can only speculate, but I do feel that what I've seen throughout the years, I know Roman Abramovich takes a bit of a back seat these days, but he's still clearly in charge of the club. He always gave the players a lot of power. We'd see in great pros, but I'm saying a Frank Lampard, a John Terry on his yacht, spending a week in the Mediterranean. Mm-hmm. He likes to hang out with the players. He's a guy that likes to have a relationship with the players, and I don't know if that maybe plays into the fact that these players then think they have more power than they do. But when you've got a manager, whether you like him or you love him or you're indifferent, you have to respect him, and you have to respect the fact that he is in charge of the group. And that is because you're an employee of that football club. You get paid enormous amounts of money to wear the badge of Chelsea Football Club. So there's a code of conduct, there should be, but certainly your own personal code of conduct in your brain, how you conduct yourself, how you act, and the type of person and player you are. And so in that regard, they guys are letting their club down. They're letting themselves down. And I'm not just including Kepa, because it's more than Kepa. This could have been anybody. There's been stories, we saw them perform at the Emirates horribly, absolutely terrible in so many areas. They're letting their manager down, but they're letting themselves down, they're letting their club down. And if Chelsea want to get back to something. They're always going to win things, and they'll have a reaction from a new manager, and they'll be successful. But if they want to create sustained success, they need to have a deep dive into this. They need to change structure. I don't care if it happens from the boardroom level all the way down, but something needs to be done here, and there needs to be a change in the recruitment, and there needs to be a change in the philosophy of how you act and how you conduct yourself when you're a Chelsea Football Club player.
Before we get to Liverpool and Manchester United, finally, quick word on City. They did win the trophy. We didn't talk about that really, but in the end,
They weren't great though,
they weren't great, were they? Quick observations about them overall. I would say this. We're going to get onto injuries in a second, but very interesting that Laporte and Fernandinho, two arguably of their very important players, both left injured, and Guardiola was quick to say that could impact their pursuit of the quadruple after the game, because obviously they're going to be missing some matches now, and they're very important players, almost irreplaceable players at that football club, the way they've been playing at the moment. That's going to be difficult. That was an observation for me. I thought Bernardo Silva was tremendous again.
Brilliant.
Again, arguably their best player again, by the way, on a day when David Silva hasn't had a very good few weeks and De Bruyne is nowhere near the level. What a player he's become. And the Raheem Sterling penalty was magnificent. To see him step up as a young English kid at Wembley in his own city to go and put in a penalty like that. We'll get lost in everything we've discussed, but those are the quick three observations I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, they're going to miss Laporte and Fernandinho. They're irreplaceable, KJ. They don't have anybody that does the job that they two guys do within the team. Hopefully it's not too long for their sake. They're in every competition, of course. They've ticked one off. They're pretty much right in the mix. I'd say they're clear favourites for the FA Cup. They're one of the favourites for the Champions League, and they're in a two-horse race for the Premier League. So they're more than capable, but injuries are going to be the thing that really could derail them, and they too are critically important. Sterling, I was delighted that he put the penalty away. I thought it was a little bit of an anxious performance from Manchester City, frustrated by Chelsea. Tactics were really spot on, nice and deep, lots of bodies in the central areas, difficult to play through, and then broken them really quickly and probably had the better chances of the game. But it doesn't matter how you get through a cup final, and this being the first one was very important. They've went there, they've did it, they've won it. They still had the lion's share of possession. They still were the team trying to win possession. The game. Exactly. Yeah. So in that regard, I'm good with them winning it, KJ. They were the only team that really went out there and tried to win it, and they showed a different side to their game. They showed that toughness and resilience. We know they've got it, but it's sometimes nice to see them win like that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. From one title contender getting frustrated in a 0-0 to another at Old Trafford, Manchester United versus Liverpool ended 0-0 as well. Interesting that this was a bizarre match in terms of how many substitutions were taking place at half-time. Manchester United, for the first time in Premier League history, had to make 3 substitutions, all before the end of the first half. But I blame that basically on Alexis Sanchez being rubbish. I don't know about you, because
it's a bad day for him.
If he was good, then he would have come on at the second time. But instead, Ollie's looking down his bench and going, Lingard, you're half fit. Go on then. Please go on, try it. And then he comes off and then he has to put Sanchez on. Like, it was basically like an afterthought. Yeah. Fred, the other one who's just coming recently, he might as well be Fred the Red, the mascot, because he ain't playing again.
Maybe he is the mascot. I've not seen him for that long.
He ain't playing again, is he? I mean, basically at midfield, the midfielder comes off, Matic isn't playing, and then you put in Pereira on. So Fred spent 50 odd million quid on him. I love these games because it tells you the manager's never going to say anything about this, but it tells you everything what they think of the player. Yeah. You know what I mean? So those were some interesting topics. But all in all, a bad day, I think, for Liverpool. I certainly saw it as 2 points lost, not 1 point gained. What about you?
I thought it was a really nervy, disjointed, anxious performance by Liverpool, and epitomised by their manager, it has to be said, in the side, been very complimentary of Jurgen Klopp this season. But in the last few weeks, I'm starting to see a man unravel a little bit. He looked deranged at times, the way he was, screaming at different players, and doesn't matter how high profile they were, he was going for all of them, wasn't he? And I didn't see a team with a lot of control. Again, they had possession for obvious reasons. Manchester United were dropping off, difficult to beat, and after the injuries they were playing with 10 men because Rashford was nowhere near fit.
9 Sanchez.
So it was they were going to have the ball, but how many times did they play long balls?
Yeah.
I've never seen them play so many
Incredibly
long
direct.
balls. Incredibly direct, missing out that extra pass that we normally see from them to secure the possession and to methodically work it from one area of the field to the other, left to right, right to left, front to back. It was almost a desperation. Let's just get it forward and hope that it falls at somebody's feet, or hope that one of our big guys does something great, puts it in the back of the net. Anxiety all round from the way that they were playing, and there was periods in that match where composure and confidence would have scored them a goal or two. Man U were extremely vulnerable. The sort of second part of the first half, when the injuries were happening and guys were basically playing on one leg for at least 10 minutes. Lingard played at least 10 minutes on one leg, and Rashford played 85 minutes on one leg.
Yeah, and painkillers too. He had to take painkillers.
Right,
yeah.
So, two guys are unfit. You bring in on, you got Scott McTominay, no disrespect, had a decent game, the lad, but playing in central midfield against one of the best midfields in Europe.
Lukaku just like trying to find air on the wing.
He, in fairness to him, he put in a shift, but I mean, Romelu Lukaku's playing on your right wing, running back and tracking back.
Only because Rashford was hurt, by the way.
Exactly,
That's
so
why
he couldn't do it. So Lukaku, I thought, respect him. He tried his absolute best. He was struggling on that right hand side, but he was trying to get back and forward. But Liverpool had chances to turn the screw and go, okay, extra pass, bit of quality from someone, and the anxiety was just forcing them to play it forward. Poor substitution from Jurgen Klopp.
That was my next question for you.
Right, okay.
All right, let's go here. By the way, you're right. But Liverpool looked like it was a heavyweight title clash. Liverpool went in and against Man United. Man United looked like they broke their hand in the first round and stood on the ropes with the gloves in front of their face and said, come on, what can you do?
Yeah.
And Liverpool couldn't get near him. They couldn't touch him. And so the substitutions, let's get to this because I wanted to get to this. Fabinho's injured, 30 minutes on, he gets taken off for Sturridge. Shaqiri comes on for Henderson and Origi for Mo Salah. My question to you was, did you agree with any of them? Because I didn't.
Did not agree with the first one at all. I thought Sturridge...
Shaqiri?
Yes, Shaqiri 100%.
Shaqiri first, Salah up front. Would you have done that?
4-2-3-1. I called it before the game to the kids. We were chatting about the tactics of the game.
Yeah.
I boringly take them through every single game to
You're
test
not boring them. You're bringing, you're encouraging intelligent minds.
So I was asking them where the Manchester United win the game, and we felt it was maybe down the side of Milner and Matip if Rashford could find the angles. And in fairness, he tried to play him on the left. He was injured. And I said, where did Liverpool win the game? And the guys were like, well, front three. I said, no, but more than that. I thought 4-2-3-1 was the way that they could win the game. And I thought they would have went from that from the start. I thought that they would have played Salah through the middle and Firmino just off him like they've been doing, and then Wijnaldum, edging towards that side. But they didn't. And then when they were forced into the change, they could easily have went for that. Luke Shaw had a wonderful game.
He did.
And he had Salah in his pocket. Why didn't he change that at any moment to let Salah have a little shot through the middle? Something different, bit of pace, threaten behind.
They did it for like 5 minutes. He went 4-4-2 after they took Henderson off.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I saw that and I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's see how this goes. But it was a 4-4-2, but it was almost like a 4-5-1 because he still kept drifting to that right-hand side.
Salah gave the ball away too much.
He was awful. He didn't play well, but I thought they were going to put him through the middle. So the first one for me in Sturridge was not good at all. He didn't have any impact in the game. It was Shaqiri was sitting there and it was crying out for a player of his quality to find a nice little pocket in behind the midfield in front of the back line where he could work his magic and do something special, and it never really came, and Origi had little impact. I thought Henderson had a good game. I don't know what you thought.
I did too.
I thought it was really good. Fabinho and Henderson were excellent. And when he took Henderson off, I was disappointed for the lad. I thought that he was playing really well, and he took him off in 60th minutes, and there was a little bit there.
Didn't like it, did he?
No, and then Klopp had a little go back, and again it shows the anxiety between them, or they're feeling the pressure that they're feeling. Another little example of that, KJ, and Liverpool were nowhere near the identity we expect from them today.
They had nobody to supply a final ball. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And, Henderson doesn't bring that. That's the issue they've got. And Fabinho doesn't bring that, even though I think he brings a lot. And I thought he was excellent.
He was great.
For me, as I said, I don't know whether I think they showed United too much respect. Certainly in the second half, United offered very, very little going forward.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do, if I was there, what I wanted them to do is I would have played Fabinho where Matip was, and I would have taken Matip off.
Right, step forward, because Matip did it a couple of times, but it's not his game, is it?
In the end, he wasn't needed on the field.
Yeah, you're right.
Because they had nothing. Basically, Marcus Rashford on one leg playing up front, and Van Dijk and Matip defending him together. So I would have put Fabinho there, and he could have still played at the base of midfield because he had possession from 70% of the time in the second half. That's what I would have done, and then I would have let somebody else come on and play in that midfield role. You know who else I thought they could have done with? Trent Alexander-Arnold. Maybe not just necessarily where Milner was. I thought it was okay. I think he could play midfield.
Yeah.
I think he can play that pass. I think he's that good. I really do. And people said, they trusted Milner because he's in a bigger game. Trent Alexander-Arnold playing the Champions League final.
Yeah.
The guy can play in big games. Yeah. So they've got to find a way now. That game's done. They've got to find a way now to be able to unlock teams who are going to get deeper and deeper like United did, because otherwise the title race is going to be over. City would have won that game.
Yeah, they would have.
They would have won the game.
I think they would have won it comfortably.
I do too. And now they're 1 point up with 11 to play. And I thought, okay, a draw normally at United in that situation where they don't have to play any more of the big games. City still got to go to United. You're 1 point ahead of them with 11 to play. That sounds good if you didn't watch the game. But when you watch the game, I think the 1 point doesn't sound as good as it did if you didn't, if you know what I mean. Because when you watch the game, it was there for the taking. And when you look back, if they don't win the league, they're not going to go back and go, that
wasn't that game. They won't say it was that game, but it probably was.
It wasn't a point that they needed. It was 2. It was 3. And I feel like they've got to find somebody who can unlock defenses who are getting deeper. I did a tweet. 5 out of the last 7 games now, 1 goal or less. Right. 5 out of the last 7. 54 points out of the first 60 games. They lost 6 points in the first 20 matches. They've lost 9 out of the last 7. It is a fact. They are not firing on all cylinders, and they've got to figure it out. No time for nerves, guys. It's February.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is, you think you want to be anxious. You don't be talking about anxious. It'll be in April. Kevin Keegan can have a meltdown in April. Yeah. He's not having meltdowns in February. You know, figure it out, guys. Do you know what I mean? There's a long way to go, mate.
There is a long way to go, and there's a lot of twists and turns to come, but you look at a team that sort of went into that game right from the start saying we'll take a point, and when you're champions, you don't go into any game like that. You go in thinking we're going to compete, we're going to win. I thought they went in there right from the start thinking we'll take a point, and in the end it sort of clouded their judgment in analysing the game as players on the field and going, this game's here for the taking. You know, they had the mindset point, and they'll look back at that game. Many of them will watch it again. Of course, they'll analyse it as a group, and they'll go through it, and they'll go, there was little periods there that if we had showed composure and a bit more quality, we would have cut them open. We'd have scored 2 or 3 goals. And Liverpool in August, September, October, November, December would have scored 2 or 3 goals, KG. And that's the alarming thing for me. If I'm a Liverpool fan or I'm Jurgen Klopp tonight, the alarming thing is we're not making great decisions because we're just starting to feel the pinch a little bit. We're starting to feel the pressure, and he's going to have to come up with some things during the week, some tactical things, but more some mental things to just relax that group and get them playing something like we know they're capable of.
Yeah, I love the word you use, relaxed. I do want to get to Solskjaer very quickly and then we'll move on, but I do think that they may have a bit of a profile player, a problem with the players, because you look at some of the players and I think Roberto Firmino brings that quality, that he's cerebral and he sees things a lot quicker and he's composed and he brings control. Sadio Mane doesn't do that.
No.
The guy plays like 100 mile an hour. You know what I mean? And it's great sometimes when it pays off, and sometimes it can be frustrating. He's not got the eye for the pass. And some of the midfielders, they work, but they're not. When it comes down to it, they're not putting a ball like Bernardo Silva can play a ball. Yeah. You know what I mean? They don't have that kind of player, so that would be worrying. United, I saw a clip from Gary Neville on Sky Sports afterwards who said that he'd not seen an atmosphere like that for years. The fans clearly got behind the club when they needed to be. He took it on that the fans got behind Solskjaer, and he said that it's a clear now example that he's going to get the job. And he said that there would be a mutiny if he didn't get it. I didn't take that. For me, that's not what I saw. If I'm running Manchester United and I watch that game, I would be very frustrated that I couldn't analyse him. You can't really analyse him. You could because
he doesn't do anything.
Because what did he do?
He sits in his seat the entire time. He doesn't do anything.
Really? Well, I meant by the injuries. I meant that it kind of. I think we'll get to your point in a second, but I think the injuries robbed us of saying, okay, how can we really evaluate? I could criticise him on his Lingard substitution, but that's a
shocking substitution.
But who else is he going to put on? Sanchez has been.
He's got
terrible.
7 subs here. I don't care.
Shouldn't have put him on.
It's Manchester United,
right.
and as bad as Fred has been, he's 50 million and he's had him for 3 months, so he should have been building up his confidence like we've gave him credit for with Pogba and Rashford.
Who was very good, Pogba.
Yeah, and everyone else. So, that's a big issue because you're putting on a lad that's not even fit and you've already had to make, there's another substitution coming. So it wasn't smart to do that, So,
so your point being, they were very negative, weren't they? They were very deep. Even with 11 players with no injuries, if that was Mourinho's team, he'd get slaughtered.
Yeah, he would have got slaughtered. And there's something really smart being done by Solskjaer right now. He's saying all the right things, but I don't think he's doing all the right things. And I think his status as a legend of the club is allowing him that leeway. Everyone's just sort of looking at him through, rose-tinted spectacles, as we used to say, and thinking, this guy's the man. Look what all he's brought back to the club. Manchester United should be winning, and we should win every game. We should be winning trophies. It's smart. He's saying the right things, but we're not seeing any signs of that. We're seeing a team just as negative as Jose Mourinho, maybe a bit more confidence as they move forward and they break, and he's allowing people more freedom like Pogba and Rashford to run in behind, but they're still coming back and getting 11 behind the ball. And when we called it yesterday on TSN, we knew that they were going to do that. We talked about that. We said that's how they'll play. And so,
well, to be fair, we did. Dunfield
said they were going to attack and go at them, and
Terry's
made a little bit of an argument about that.
Yeah.
So, no, but I would not give the job to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I don't think he's the right man for it. And I think he's been brilliant, and I think he's reminded everyone what it takes to play for Manchester United, but I don't think he has enough tactically to take that team forward. That team needs a lot. It needs good recruitment. It needs better tactics.
Miles away, aren't they?
They're miles away. There's very few of them that are actually ready to go and compete to win a league with the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool and the way they are. So I don't think he's a man, KJ. I see him sitting aside. I don't see him get up and even make big decisions at right times, and his substitutions were absolutely awful today.
We played a clip yesterday, and I asked for the clip. I hosted TSN yesterday with you and Terry. We played a clip from Jurgen Klopp, who said that without doubt that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be the manager next year.
He wants him to get it.
You just read my mind.
Sorry.
It's the first person who's really publicly said, without doubt, that he's going to get the job. If you're a Man United fan and the Liverpool manager's coming out and giving you a ringing endorsement that should be your manager next year, I'd be very concerned because he isn't threatened by you.
Yeah,
he's not threatened by you. And if you're a Liverpool fan right now, I'd still think you should want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be a manager and take nothing away from him. He's done a wonderful job and he's got the best out of the players. But there is a different level to come. And if you don't remember how good it was, then that's your fault, because United were a lot better than this, and they need to still be a lot better than they are. Before we get to Shawnee, we did a game on TSN yesterday. We did lots of games. Tottenham, I'm sure we'll get to Pochetino shortly, but we did do Newcastle against Huddersfield in the end, a commanding victory for the Geordies. But Miguel Almiron, he's been a little bit of our special player right now. We're watching almost every minute of him on TSN, the MLS player. He had a fantastic debut, almost scored after 12 minutes with a lob of the goalkeeper. And in the end, it was just an outstanding, impressive display, wasn't it? Yeah,
the most that I've enjoyed Newcastle, watching Newcastle play for a long time, KJ, they were terrific. They were a bit tentative in the first 10 minutes, but they were really spurred on and energised by the Paraguayan international Miguel Almiron. What a terrific home debut, full debut to make. Just everywhere. The energy that he brought to the team. He revitalised a whole front line. Rondon looked better and quicker, and Ayoze Perez was vibrant, got a great goal.
Good partnership, the three of them,
Great partnership. A lot to like about them, and Newcastle team that were very, very confident on the day. Sean Longstaff, a little mention about him, young guy that's came through their academy, and a Geordie lad, and there's nothing the Geordies love more than a local lad playing in the black and white, and he was absolutely terrific.
You compared him to watching the game with me?
Michael Carrick.
One of my favourites.
He's got a lot of Michael Carrick about him. I think that he's very composed, makes good decisions, reads the play really well, knows his limits as a player, and no disrespect, it's very important to know your limits, know what you're good at, and this guy's pretty good at everything. He can play at the base of that midfield. We saw him in a wide area, put a brilliant ball in for Rondon. He's got more to his game than just kind of breaking it up and playing it simple. I think he could be a real star for the future. Yeah,
and if you think we're really invested in what Almiron does, we are.
We are. We love him.
We love him, and there's a reason for that, because we've covered him. To be quite frank, Stephen's had a few people mention to him. In fact, you've done some stories, I think, this week
in the
media. I had a few people reach out to me to ask my opinion on him over there as well, and we gave ringing endorsements. And let's be honest, the people on the other side of the ones I was speaking to, some journalists in England, were sceptical, to say the least.
Yeah.
But you've done some pieces this week singing his praises, and to see Almiron near the end of the game being given a standing ovation by a magnificent fan base who know their footballers, we all smiled when we watched that.
They're going to love him, aren't they, KJ? Because he works hard and he's exciting, and that's what they fans love. They want you to love the club and give your absolute best for that shirt, and then be flamboyant when you can. And he was exactly that. He needs to keep continuing. He's in the hardest league in the world. I'll tell you why, because he's a little bit of a surprise just now. People don't really know what he's capable of in terms of the opposition, the other players.
Well, Tommy Smith was surprised.
Well, he's surprised when he tried to break his leg. It was a horrible tackle. But they'll get to know him quickly, KJ, and teams will come up with a plan to stop him. So his game will have to evolve. He'll have to get even better and keep working hard. But I'm excited to watch that happen, because I think he's the real deal.
Yeah, likewise. I got a message before I did this show today from one of our friends, a producer and friend of the show, Owen, said, "Good luck keeping your podcast below 3 hours tonight. You got a lot of things to talk about." I'm going to pass this over to Shawnee, and I think from your rundown, we're only about 10 minutes over. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, we're holding together pretty good right now.
Less than 45 minutes. It's not even half time yet.
I know. Clay just pointed at me and was like, headlines 15
Clay
minutes.
wants to get to the Oscars. Let's speed this up
it's
here.
Like headlines is 15 minutes, and I'm looking at the headlines right now, and I'm like, there's no way this is going to be 15 minutes.
We'll try and be quick.
But hell of a weekend.
People
Why
love
is it quick?
Shawnee's headlines. So.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
So let's get to it. Leicester sacked Claude Puel after a 4-1 loss to Crystal Palace. Thoughts on Puel, and is Brendan Rodgers next to replace him?
Okay. Thoughts on Puel. In the end, he lost 7 out of 9. I think 8 out of the last 13. I've got some notes here. Some of the teams he's lost to, by the way, up recently: Palace twice, Cardiff, Southampton, Wolves. Some of the teams he beat were Chelsea, Man City. Just so polarizing, bizarre.
Yeah.
But in the end, the tragedy, I think, that happened at the football club earlier this season extended what was already what seemed like a very awkward marriage. And in the end, this surprised nobody. I watched this game in the second half, and Palace just did everything you'd expect of them, counter-attacked them with pace, and Leicester just fell apart. It wasn't a 4-1 game. I felt for him a little bit, but I think if it was a 2-1 game, he would have been fired.
Yeah, he would have been fired, but you're right, KJ, I watched it as well, and they just got cut apart in the second half, and it's a bad combination when it seems like your players don't really like you and your fans are against you as well. So it was inevitable. I was absolutely certain that he had about 48 hours before he was going to lose his job after this game. And what can we say? I mean, he's a guy that never lasts very long. He's polarising. Players don't really like him, and it's part of the intricacies of managing in modern day football. You've got to get the players behind you. You've got to come up with a style and a way of playing and a personality that's going to bring out the best in people. And I don't think he was doing that. And the kind of results are not anywhere near good enough for a team with the quality that it has. There's so many good players within that squad that somebody's going to get a nice little team here.
Yeah, before we get to the question about Brendan Rodgers, you mentioned about the players. It's clear that there was a lot of friction going on. Vardy isolated, and I wanted to share this with you. Former Leicester City defender Robert Huth told Radio Leicester this quote: "We had managers before who were really energetic, positive vibes. When he came in," and this is Puel, he came in and was pretty much the opposite.
Yeah.
It was almost like he was working against the players. These are the words of Huth. He said, "If things don't go well, you need someone to point it out, and to be brutally honest, it's been creeping in. They've been a bit slow. When that happens, you need someone to grab you by the scruff of the neck. Quite frankly, I don't think he was the guy to do that." So that's basically speaks to your point. I don't know whether he'd be back in the Premier League, but it looks like he wasn't necessarily somebody who was the right man to reinvigorate let's be honest, a great team right now to be managing. manager. Which brings up second point of Shawnee's headlines. Brendan Rodgers, do you think it's a good fit for him?
Well, he clearly wants a top 6 job. And I don't know if he's going to get it, KJ. So if he's not going to get a top 6 job...
This is the perfect springboard.
We could have a big debate here. We'll get into it another time because we're a little bit over. But I think he might have half a chance at Chelsea or Spurs, right?
You do.
But
now, straight from Celtic.
Yeah.
You do?
I do.
I don't.
Okay, so let's say he doesn't and he's not getting top 6.
Yeah.
This is the best job because he's not getting Everton. He was Liverpool manager.
Perfect example.
So this is a job. He's getting... this is the best job he can get because... he's got the players there and he's going to have some money to go and challenge that top 6 and to potentially have them overperforming like they did in their wonderful championship winning season, overperforming and maybe chatting on the door of Europe or Champions League football again.
Yeah, if I was Rodgers, I'd take the job. I think it'd be great for him. Finish off at Celtic for the year, get that done. There's nothing left for him to accomplish there.
The treble he's going for, isn't it?
Go for it.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of time for him, but I do think that there's some people who were a bit concerned about how it ended at Liverpool, particularly how he became a bit of a distraction, about how that didn't necessarily go down well in terms of handling a big club.
Yeah.
That I think might have some reservations from the likes of Chelsea and Spurs, the teams that you mentioned. But if he was to go to Leicester, and he doesn't even need to win anything, if he was to go to Leicester within 2 years, turn this team around, get them to consistently challenge for the top 6, get to the likes of 56, 58, 60 points every single year for a couple of seasons, and really show his managerial qualities again in the Premier League, then yes, I think the top 4 is his destination. But I think he needs that bridge first.
Mauricio Pochetino lost his cool on Mike Dean after the loss at Turf Moor. What do you think sparked such emotion from the usually calm and composed manager?
Yeah, we were doing this game live and it happened really fast. I was very surprised. I'll first say I get uncomfortable watching that kind of stuff a little bit, and I think more and more people are getting that way. I'd certainly get uncomfortable watching players do that, like midweek, trying to get around the referee's face in the Man City Champions League game when he's trying to put a decision together on VAR. His interview afterwards was almost as interesting because he went out of his way to not talk about it, and that was almost like he was doing a job interview with other big clubs watching him. It was clear that he wasn't happy with what went on with the goal in the build-up to it. And it seemed like Mike Dean was instigating more and more tension there. It wasn't necessarily, allowing the situation to diffuse itself, but that would be what we'd expect to this from Mike Dean.
Yeah, Mike Dean has a history of winding people up instead of calming and diffusing the situation. I think this happened because of some history between the two. I don't know, you're the stat guy, KJ. At some point maybe we can look back and we'll find a game where something happened between these two. But I think it was more than just isolated to Turf Moor on Saturday. I do think when we see a guy normally as calm and composed as Pochettino lose his cool like that, I think there's something there between the two of them. I think that something's probably happened in the past. And of course the pressure's getting to everybody, and this was a game that he called out himself saying we need 3 points if we're going to continue as title challengers, and they didn't get it. They didn't get any points, so he was feeling the pressure. But right away he was obviously when he did his interview, he was right on to taking away from the controversy of Mike Dean and in the situation at Burnley, and talking about his team and what they did or didn't do within that match.
Yeah, and in the end, it's cost them, it.
Yeah,
he said before the game, didn't he? We have to win this match to stay in the Premier League. Shawnee, your team's done, I think. Here, but you'd know that anyway. You're pessimistic about Spurs.
I wasn't.
When the season started, it was over.
See,
I'm okay over it.
like high on coffee at midnight. Caldwell was given the Premier League title last week.
Well, if they had won at Turf Moor,
come on.
Tell me what the difference would be. 2 points and 3 points.
3 points now, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but they've still got to go to...
I know, but that's an advantage for a team like Tottenham.
Liverpool.
Potentially.
Right. To be fair, it was the only game this season in the Premier League away from home where they've not led.
Right. And they are a team that normally play better against good sides, you know?
Yes.
I'm not saying that they were going to go and win at both their places, but I'm saying that they like the opportunity to go and play against teams that have good football, you know, that allow them to play, that are, you know, not sitting back and defending against them. So if they went and won there, they were right in the hunt, in my opinion.
And I think they played that way in the second half, didn't they? They just went for it, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was like basically like Championship Manager or PlayStation 4, just throwing on all your strikers and just
there was no control to it. There was Kane floating around almost like a midfielder. Llorente, he served his purpose when Harry Kane was injured, but I wouldn't be bringing them on unless it was the last 10 minutes and I was literally throwing it in the box to him, and that didn't really work. And then Lamela it was just really, you're asking Ericsson to play at the base of midfield, and that's how you lost your goal, because he couldn't make the tackle. So unfortunately, I love Spurs and I love watching them play, and Pochettino I think is becoming my favourite manager in the world, but they're just short, and they proved it at Turf Moor on Saturday.
Win the Champions League, Shawnee, instead. There you go.
Long live the Undrawables. That is this year.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. You know what's going to happen? They're going to go all season long without not drawing until the last game of the season, and they're going to draw.
100%. Moving on, Krzystof Piatek has 26 goals and 27 appearances this season. What do you believe his ceiling? And do you think he's the one that can bring glory back to AC Milan?
This guy's unbelievable, by the way. 7-6 for Milan now. But it's not just like his goals.
Yeah.
It's not his stats. It's the goals he scores. It's like on a highlight reel every week. It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm not a Milan fan. I just love to see good football, but I love it. I love that they're relevant again.
Yeah.
I love that they've got that guy who's just smashing in goals like Shevchenko, this guy, every single week. It's tremendous to watch. And, again, on the weekend, I think only Messi's got more goals this year in the top 5 leagues than him. Obviously, he just moved over to Milan in January, but boy, oh boy, what a player they found here.
Yeah, absolutely prolific, and they need a superstar, don't they, KJ?
They do,
we want Serie A to have a top AC Milan, top Inter Milan as well, to compete with Juventus and get more competition within that league. And there's some signs of it coming back, and this guy looks like he's on the verge, if he's not there already, of becoming a superstar and a real guy that can handle the sort of the responsibility of wearing that magnificent red and black shirt. So exciting to watch. They've got a few good players within there as well, and some younger bodies. So I'm hoping that Milan can get back to the glory days.
Messi scored his 50th hat-trick this weekend.
Oh, hum.
He currently sits at 585 goals as per Transfer Market. I don't have a question here, but let's just spend a couple minutes and let's talk about Messi.
What about that game? Did you see the highlights? I watched most of it last night. It. Oh my goodness me, what a tremendous match. Now you talk about like overall quality of leagues, like the Manchester United Liverpool game. I know it had some bad injuries and all that. The quality compared to Sevilla Barcelona is not on the same planet, mate.
Yeah.
La Liga is a different level when you play a real high quality game like that. And Messi's goals were unbelievable. His volley to score the first goal was fantastic. Right foot top corner for the second one, and then just of course the lob over the goalie for the third. I mean, this guy. You just run out of things to say about him, but it's just a joy to watch. I just hope people understand how good he is. I just hope people understand that we're watching, Michael Jordan, you name it, Wayne Gretzky, you name it. It's the greatest of the greats of all time. And again, another high quality La Liga game that was really entertaining. It's just marvelous to watch.
Yeah, the thing I'll remember about him, KJ, eventually in 31, hopefully he's got another 4, 5, 6 years left, is the productivity that this guy provides. He's not running loads. he's playing every game and he's picking his moments, and something good happens from nearly every moment he picks. Exactly. So the productivity and the conversion rate on him kind of going through the gears and dribbling and getting into the last third or getting into a position to score a goal is just off the charts. And I recognised that a few years ago when I did some research into his numbers, and I thought this guy must be running 2,000 metres high intensity every single game. So I looked into some of his physical stats, and they were extremely low. That's the way he can play every single game, because when he runs, he scores. Yeah. When he runs, he creates a chance, and I just think that is extremely special to just recognise when to burst into gear. And 50 hat tricks, it's ridiculous. I've played the game, I've scored a goal or two. 50 hat tricks. It's It's hard for me to even get my head round that.
You play the same game as Messi.
No, I've never played Messi.
No, but you played the same game as him.
No,
at a high
well,
level.
hey, you seen me play? I never played the same game as Messi.
You played against Luka Modric. We talked about this weekend.
Yeah, put me in my bum again as well.
Stevie found out, we discovered. So Burnley beat Tottenham for just the second time in 44 years. The last time they beat them was the final day of the season in 2010 when Stephen Caldwell played in a game they won 4-2. But you got relegated.
Yeah, we got relegated and they were tired. I think they played the midweek, but they went 2-0 up. And I was reading the match reports. I saw that Burnley had beaten them. I think I played in that game. And then I remembered I'd played in it. And so I was reading the match report. It was interesting. In the second goal, some guy called Luka Modric picks the ball up. And the hapless Stephen Caldwell tried to stop him. And he was embarrassed a little bit or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to stop reading this. You should put that on your Twitter bio, the hapless Stephen Caldwell by Luka Modric. But I was like, I'm actually pleased that I played against Modric, even though he embarrassed me. Tough moor.
Just got a text from Dunfield about Kepa. Do you think he's 6 hours behind? Or?
Oh my, is he just watching it now?
I don't know. Maybe he's just trying to generate some kind of conversation with us. He probably misses us. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Sean.
Moving on, the round of 16 has been drawn for the Europa League. What match tickles your fancy as a must-watch?
Eintracht Frankfurt versus Inter Milan is a good one. I like that. By the way, Inter Milan's a crazy decision at the end by their game, 3-3 by VAR again, talking about Serie A. But that's a good one. And that nonsense rule with Chelsea and Arsenal not allowed to play on the same night, which is kind of ridiculous. But there's some tasty ones here.
Yeah, Arsenal-Rennes, I think, might be quite a good match, KJ.
Piatek derby.
Yeah, pretty exciting, that one. Ismail Assar, he's one of our guys. We like him, don't we? And I think he's having a decent season again. Napoli, Salzburg, I like that one as well. Salzburg were in Celtic's group and they're a really good side. Obviously, they got pretty far in this competition last year.
And I think Napoli got knocked out last year by Leipzig, didn't they?
Did
Talking
they?
About Red
yeah.
Bull. I think they
did. You're right. Yeah, we had that one, didn't we?
Yeah.
And also, I like all of these. I'm picking every one, Shawnee. But Zenit, Villarreal. Did anybody see the sort of flare?
Oh, the Zenit stuff all the way to the stadium. Yeah, that
for
was
Zenit. Oh my, it was remarkable. Fans just lining the road and lighting the flares. So they clearly want to win that competition. And Villarreal were pretty good in the last round as well. So some interesting ties. I love it when it gets to this stage because we start to get to the really good teams. It's going to get exciting. Major
League Soccer kicks off next week. Give me your Shield winners, Cup winners, MVP, and Canadian Championship winners.
Wow, I thought you wanted a short show.
I just want names. I don't want reason.
All right, just
okay,
names. All right. Shield winner. Oh, boy. I'll go with LAFC.
Wow.
Okay. I'll go with New York Red Bulls.
Okay. MLS Cup winner. I'll go with Sporting Kansas City.
Atlanta United.
MVP, Pity Martinez.
MVP, Vela.
Nice. Canadian Championship winner?
Montreal Impact.
Vancouver Whitecaps. There we go. That's my choice.
Beautiful.
There you go. I could have gone with York 9 or Valor or somebody. That would be fun, no?
It'd be a hell of a story.
Why not? Let's get that sorted out.
Moving on to the CONCACAF Champions League. Atlanta dropped their first leg 3-1 to Costa Rican side Herediano. Will Frank de Boer's side find a way to rescue the win?
I think they will. I watched the whole game. It was remarkably open. It could have been 6-7, 5, whatever, you name it. It was an unbelievable game. Back and forth, tempo at a very high level. Great to watch. I think de Boer's got some tactical decisions to make going forward. I think they're going to be electric to watch, but he basically let Joseph Martinez, Pity Martinez and Barco just do nothing defensively, and the other guys just got exploited. Plus, you had Gressel on one side and Bello, the young kid, on the other. The back three were exploited. They made some big mistakes. They weren't quite at the races, but they're going to be fun to watch. I'm just not sure. I mean, de Boer thinks this way, so I don't think you're going to change right away, but I'm not quite sure 3-4-3 is the best way to play.
Yeah, we had a little debate about that on Saturday, didn't we? We were chatting about it, and we know he likes to play 3-4-3, but maybe 4-3-3, which is another formation of Frank de Boer and the kind of Dutch method that normally like, and I think that might be more suited to them, but we'll have to see. We spoke about Gressel. I think he's a wonderful player, but he can play anywhere and play right wing back, which he's playing in this formation. But I'd like to see him start to move into the centre of the park.
Yeah, me too.
Jeff Larentovic, a fantastic player and been a great servant. But I think with Larentovic and Remedy, they lack a little bit of legs in there. Remedi's terrific as well, but he's not really box to box. Gressel gives you that box to box aspect as well. And if this game was at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I would say absolutely they go through. The fact that they're moving for monster trucks, and I know we mentioned that a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, by the way, we did get some feedback from
we
that.
Did, I know.
And everybody chose monster trucks to kick them out of the stadium than losing 4-0 in the Champions League. So thanks for all your
TFC wishing that monster trucks was coming to Toronto on Tuesday night.
They'd rather be up 1-0 and be kicked out and playing at
varsity or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, the crowd's probably going to be enough that varsity would be just a bit full.
Yikes. Yeah. But maybe, so, you could have had an example of the monster trucks coming in BMO Field, but that probably wouldn't be good for the pitch. So there's already issues with that over the last few years.
Yeah, hopefully, I'm looking forward to seeing that pitch. I know
monster trucks?
the BMO. Yeah. I know it's late February, but hopefully that's been sorted because that was a big issue last year.
Well, to be fair,
affected the football we watched from both sides on a regular basis.
Bill Manning did give us a 17-minute sermon in a press conference about the soil, recently about that. So, and he did, to be fair to Bill, admit afterwards that he maybe went on a bit long about the soil, but he was very interested in explaining the differences between this year's pitch to last year's pitch. So you're right. Let's hope they figure that one out. But hopefully Atlanta figured it out too. But by the way, Pity Martinez is a special player. Very, very good player.
Moving on to the national team, Steven Eustaquio, a 22-year-old defensive midfielder from Cruz Azul, has chosen to play for Canada. What are your thoughts on more Canadians choosing Canada? And then what do you see this 11 being as another midfielder joins the national team?
It's funny because they've got so much depth in certain areas and then lack of it in maybe a couple of others. They've got so many people who can play out wide, particularly on the left. And then in midfield, they've got quite a lot of quality as well. Look, I'm certainly not going to sit here and complain about quality and depth in certain areas. This has been the team for so long that hasn't had that. So, great again. I mean, this is the player that John Herdman obviously teased in his press conference a couple of weeks ago in Toronto. Just great to see other people choosing to play for Canada. And, I think that when you think about Atiba and he's not going to be around much longer, then I think I'd like to get him in there under the tutelage of John Herdman with Atiba there to still help him out.
Yeah, hopefully Atiba stays longer, but he was saying that he might be done after the Gold Cup, which I think would be a disappointment because I still think Atiba has a lot of football, but Eustaquio choosing Canada is another coup for John Herdman. It's a nice addition to an area that's quite exciting. Atiba's been wonderful, probably the best Canadian player of all time. We've said that in the past. And, young Liam Fraser, although he's not getting enough minutes at TFC, is showing some promising signs in that area. Osorio's more attacking, but Eustaquio has got, I've not seen him play a ton, KJ, but he's got some good history. And for him just to choose Canada tells you what kind of excitement's happening with this team at the moment. John Herdman's got something going, and everyone realises that heading into hopefully a legitimate chance of qualifying for 2022 and of course a home World Cup is extremely exciting. So competition for places is always a good thing, and we're starting to get that with guys kind of around about the same age, so we're going to get this group of players hopefully getting a real togetherness and team type mentality to take them through the next 5 to 8 years.
Good stuff. Thanks, Shawnee. Thanks for headlines. And again, everybody who was involved in headlines, appreciate that. And I think we could have had 15 more this week. It was absolutely crazy the amount of stories we could have talked about. Okay, final part of the show. Ask #AFP. A reminder, you can always get on your social media circles and remind you that you can always be part of the show. We had so many questions this week, but we'll go over to Sean again for that part of the show. Shawnee.
Thanks, KJ. James asks, taking into consideration their form, remaining schedule, and relative position in the Premier League standings, which team should throw all of the chips in to winning the Europa League for automatic Champions League entry? Arsenal or Chelsea or both?
Probably Arsenal, although I don't mean that in terms of a reflection that the other team's better and the more chances of winning the Champions League. I just think that Arsenal have probably got a better chance to win it at the moment. Chelsea, we've covered them earlier in the show. They're a bit of a shambles at the moment, and I'm not sure that they really have. I think Arsenal have a bit more depth to their squad, so they can do that a little bit more. So I think that I'll probably take them. But I do think, as we've seen with the past Europa Leagues, that it is something that they know that they can take very seriously here. That's what Mourinho and United did to get their pathway to the Premier League.
Yeah, I think they both.
The Champions League.
Yeah, I think they both have to do it, KG. I think that this is the best opportunity for them both to get Champions League entry. I'm with you. I think Arsenal are better equipped to potentially do that, but we've seen in previous years this is not an easy competition to win. We sort of cruise through a group and last 32, even last 16, and you start to hit the quarterfinals and there's some tasty teams left. We just went through a few of them there and a lot of quality, so it's not going to be easy, but I would say Arsenal are in the best position just through the type of players and the quality players that they have.
Speaking of Arsenal, resident Sky is Falling and friend of the pod, Devang, asks, will Unai Emery be the Arsenal manager next season?
Ridiculous question, it has to be said. Devang.
Come on, Devang. Like, who do you want to be manager? Oh, I know. Arsene Wenger. That's who you want to be in charge of Arsenal next season, and don't even deny it. Of course he's going to be the manager next season. Like,
awful question.
What do you want? Like, do you want more
turmoil,
upheaval with? Well, the club is kind of in a strange place right now, don't you think? They're just kind of like chugging along in like living in non-controversial land for a little bit, where everyone's just kind of like on this honeymoon,
forgotten about them almost. Yeah.
But that might be a bit of an indictment on
I know,
them, really.
That's what I mean.
Do you know what I mean? Like even like the Ozil stuff's kind of gone away.
Nobody cares really, unless you're a big Arsenal fan.
They had a horrendous first 15 minutes against Southampton where they could have been 2-0 down, and in the end they won comfortably.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's a general malaise about the club, really.
Yeah.
It's just become like, oh, okay, well, we'll see where we finish. And, but maybe that's what Emery needs. He just needs a bit more calmness, because usually with Arsenal, you're living in choppy waters.
Yeah, I think we both agree that Emery's the guy to take them forward, and it's been stop-start this season. It was very promising at the beginning, and then it went off the rails a bit, and you're right, KG, it just went kind of quiet at the moment. I think they're happy with that. They don't really want too much attention. And Arsene Wenger, because he's one of the greatest managers of his generation, just brought that attention all the time.
Yeah.
When he was the elite manager and they were the elite teams of the early 2000s, late 90s, of course it was there. And then it was, is Arsene going to bring back the glory days? And then it was, when's Arsene going to leave? So there was just drama all the time. Mistakes were made in many different areas. And now Emery's in. There's still that little bit of turmoil when it comes to player recruitment, and Emery's won some little battles, we think, recently. So stick with the guy, give him some time. I think he's the right man. I think he's going to come up with a nice style once he gets the right pieces, and hopefully we're going to see a challenging Arsenal in the Premier League soon.
They got too many weeds in the garden, don't they?
Yeah.
You've got to get rid of these guys. So there's just not enough good players. And if you want to contend in the Premier League, you got to get rid of them. So, and by the way, one of them's on 350 grand a week. So good luck.
Matthew says he wasn't concerned about Alphonso Davies' minutes until this week, when Kovac had to console Renato Sanchez for the lack of playing time, citing a title race. Given Ribery's health and Robin training, should he be concerned?
I always treat this as being, I always felt like it was a bonus if he got minutes this season. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Although I do, as I say that, feel like I might contradict myself in terms of, I did say at one point that because they were struggling, it would have presented him with more opportunities, but they are in a title race.
Yeah.
They're in a title race. Dortmund have kind of had a bit of a shaky time over the last few weeks, and that might hinder him. Coman is injured again, so that might help him a little bit.
Yeah.
But look, I would never have expected Alphonso Davies to start a Bundesliga match yet. And I think for me, if he starts one in the next few weeks, that might help him. But ultimately, it doesn't surprise me. And I think he'll be getting minutes anyway going forward.
Yeah, once you join a club of the might and stature of Bayern Munich, what you have to start doing is focusing on yourself, KJ. You can't afford to look at Ribery and Robin and Coman and Gnabry and Muller. We could go on and on.
Yeah.
There's so many of them. Once you start getting, bogged down on who's ahead of you, who's there, you got to just keep getting better. This lad, the potential means that his ceiling is so high. He's got so much improvement to do that he just needs to keep focusing on doing that every single day in training, doing his job properly, getting ready to compete in training first and foremost, keep him to getting on benches, and then trying to get himself in the team. So we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I just would like to think that the guy's just not getting too anxious or stressed about the fact that he's maybe not getting minutes in the recent games. He's on the bench, he's training with one of the best teams in the world, and he's hopefully getting better.
Yeah, and he played 9 minutes in the reserve game, and then obviously he's still in the Champions League squad.
And that's the key though, KJ. So reserve games are important for a guy like him. We need to remember he's went back in a sense that first team football is going to be a tall ask at this moment. He's 18 years old. Do your work in the reserve team games. Make sure you're the best player in the park there, so he's got to have small little goals, make sure he's just ticking them off, he's getting better, he's improving, and hopefully gets to the point where someone, Kovac or whoever comes next, is saying, you're the man, you're going to be a regular, we're going to start putting you in the side. That will mean he is one of Europe's elite wingers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's playing against players in the reserve leagues that are better than he was playing last year in MLS. So in some regards, no question about that. So
Ian asks, Stephen, what were you feeling when your brother Gary scored a 1-0 winning goal versus France?
What was I feeling? Get in there. I was at Hampden.
I like Caldwell corner. Can we make it a regular thing?
I was at Hampden and I jumped about 5 feet in the air when he scored that goal, and it was an unbelievable night. We played them at maybe about 6 p.m, 5 p.m, if memory serves me right, and we went to the game and Gary scored, and then it was backs against the wall. And when I say part the bus, backs against the wall, you'll never believe what this was like, KJ. Craig Gordon was in goals, he made a couple of great saves, defending basically on our 6-yard box, and we come away with a 1-0 victory, and we were just so elated. We beat one of the best sides ever in the world. Yep, certainly one of the best French sides. Everyone was playing, Henry and Vieira and everyone, stacked team. And we went back to Stirling. We were in Glasgow, we drove back through to Stirling. Gary wasn't with us, I think they had another game, but it was me and my mate, my mum, my dad and a few of us, and we could not buy a drink. So you can imagine what kind of night we had. It was unbelievable. I've said this to you in the past.
You didn't go thirsty, did you?
No, I've said this to you in the past, Christian, but it's one thing playing for a club, it's another thing playing for your country. And when your brother scores the only goal in your country's biggest win, everyone wants to talk to you. Everyone knows. Everyone remembers that day, and it was a brilliant day. I mean, I wish it was me that scored the goal, but I was happy that it was my brother.
If it's not you, it's going to be him, right? The highs and lows of football, though. So the next question is, Christian asks, what were you thinking on Saturday when your brother's team, Piatek Thistle, gave away 2-goal lead and lost 4-2?
Oh, I was thinking, what is going on? We were so happy at half time. We thought we were going to get it done, and then they just capitulated in the second half. And this is the thing, he calls me up for the car when he's driving back to his home in Manchester, and he's just ranting, pulling his hair out. And who would be a manager? We've mentioned Sarri here. We've talked about Emery losing his job. Claude Puel's just lost his job. Yep. We're debating all these things and we're going through it. Obviously it's our job to kind of analyse and give our opinions on it, but it's life to these guys. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter if you manage Partick Thistle or Chelsea. It's your life. He lives this every single day, and he works hard, or as hard as anybody else in the game, to try and make Partick Thistle successful. And so
2-0 up after like half an hour, and
2-0 up could have been 5.
Right.
Playing against Ross County, top of the league, and just dominating them, and then come out in the second half, lose a goal in the 47th minute, and then just freeze and panic and get deeper and get anxious and get nervous. And you're a manager and you're standing at the side and you're just watching this happen. It's like watching a car crash. You can't really do anything about it because 11 players are in control, and of course you set them up and you put them out there and you make substitutions, but there's only so much you can do, and that's why this life is so demanding, it's so difficult, and it's so consuming on everybody's time, not just the individual who's in charge of that club, but every member of his family, his kids, his wife, his girlfriend, his dog, his sister. It doesn't matter who it is, you're all part of it, so anybody that stands at that side, and we sit here and we're critical and we're on these mics, and it's our job to be, and it's our opinion, but it's harder than it looks, and it's a lonely place, and let's respect that about these guys, because they put it in and they work extremely hard trying to be successful.
RS119 has concerns about Bono's inconsistent play seemingly following him into 2019. Does TFC look to find another keeper?
Well, they need to find another goalkeeper. They need to give this guy competition for places. And I think we covered that, didn't we, last week a little bit in terms of the competition for places. But in terms of Alex's inconsistent play, I do feel that although it is a necessary conversation to have, I think it's a little bit overblown in terms of everybody kind of pointing towards him in terms of being the reason for their failures. And I think I might be wrong here, but I get the feeling that's a little bit like the hockey mentality with the goaltender a little bit. I always found that a lot of evaluations of hockey teams were, okay, well, they're great because they got a good goalie, and they lost because they got a bad goalie. And that's very different in this sport.
Yeah.
And that might be a bit of a generalization, and I apologize if it is. But the one thing I would say about Alex Bono is that I think that he is, first of all, he's an extremely bright guy, and he is very, very critical upon himself. But I also think he's got that good blend of balance between self-evaluation, but understanding that he needs to forget mistakes, and that's a big part of what he needs to do to improve and learn from them. And I spoke to him a lot about that. But the next thing I'm going to say is people might think it's critical of Alex, but I don't think it is. I think there's not a great deal of difference between what I would call his ceiling and his floor. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as a criticism. I just think that he is what he is. He's been evaluated by Toronto FC. They believe he's a stable goalkeeper. They've paid him well, and that's it. And so when you've got that kind of goalkeeper, you're sometimes going to have very good games, and sometimes you're going to have disappointing games. But I'm wondering whether there's some people out there who think that maybe he should be better than he actually can be, and maybe some people are being a little bit harsher on him because the expectations are a little bit too high. That's how I feel.
Yeah, all great points and very valid. And I think that we both know Alex pretty well. He was a teammate of mine for a little while at the end of my career, and he's a brilliant professional. He's a guy that works extremely hard, and he's a very level-headed guy. He's an easy guy to like. He's an easy guy to root for because he just goes about his business and does the right thing and acts like such a pro. And I always love players like that.
I told him he's going to take my job when he's done, by the way. 'Cause
he's fantastic, and you could see that. You can see him sitting in front of the camera at some point. But what I will say about him is, and I said before, this is his most important season in professional football because I see attention to his play. And I spoke to a few ex-goalkeepers that I really respect within the game, and they told me, or they said something to me that made me really sit up and listen and take note, KG. He's anxious in the way that he's kind of setting himself, and he's getting chipped a lot, or the ball's going over his head because he's setting himself too wide, and he's really tense. He's trying to get set to make the save instead of being a little bit fluid and a little bit more like the Alex Bono we've seen in the early years of his, he's kind of playing every week for TFC. And I thought it's a great point. He just seems to be double guessing himself in a lot of instances, and so that's why I think this is his most important season, because it's a lonely place out in that field, even though it's a team of 11 players, and it's even more lonely for the goalkeeper. And so he's got all these questions swirling around his head, and he knows he's not playing his best. He's got to find someone in his mentality and his psyche from somewhere that just grinds through that just finds a way to be loose at the right times, finds a way to make some big decisions, and to, rather than getting rooted and being kind of caught in no man's land, a little bit like one of the goals the other day, be positive. Just keep asking yourself, be positive, come for things, make positive decisions, because I think if he gets back to that, he settles down a little bit, he loses a touch of anxiety, and he's a touch more positive, I think we'll see the Alex Bono of 2016, 2017. And I think that once we start to see that guy come, I do think that he can be a very consistent goalkeeper in MLS, and I think he can be TFC's goalkeeper for a long time. He needs competition, but it needs to be put to him in the right way. I think it needs to be a solid number two who can push him and help him. Help him is a big thing here as well. But I don't think it can be someone that comes in, and we've saw Greg Vanny chop and change with goalkeepers in the past. That would be disastrous for Alex Bono right now. I think it needs to be a good number two, respecting the league, that comes in to help him, push him along, let him know that, there's someone behind him, but not someone that's going to come and chop and change with Alex Bono.
I think it's a great point you make, because I think that when that chop and change happened last year, you and I think we would have told Greg Vanney to his face if he'd asked us, but we completely didn't disagree with it.
Yeah,
completely, because Alex Bono. And he didn't play in the 2016 MLS playoffs, but when you've done something that much, you got to give a guy a benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
You've got to allow him to realize that if he makes a high profile mistake, that he's okay. You've got his back here. The guy he didn't have a disastrous season. I was behind the goal in Mexico when he pulled off one of the greatest saves he's made in his career. It was a magnificent save. Bounced off the wet in the Azteca. Bounced off the wet surface. A tremendous save. So he's done that in 2018. So if you're going to do things like that for you, I think he's got to understand, to your point, that you're going out there, you're in the net next week. You're in the net next week. And if we're all told, well, guy, we're not sure about your job going forward, we're all going to handle it differently, no matter what job it is. We don't know if we can give you the security. We're not sure whether you're going to be here next year or next week. We're all going to be anxious about it. That needs to go. Get rid of the anxiety. But I do think he does need help. But I think he needs confidence, and that comes from leadership.
He needs more confidence. You're right. He's having a sticky spell, and he needs to lean on his leaders, and that obviously comes from the manager. He needs him to basically give him his vote of confidence. He doesn't have to do that publicly, but he should be doing that privately. Maybe he is. Maybe Greg Vanney is. We don't know, but I never love these big public, shows of affection, because at the end of the day, publicly you've got to keep your cards close to your chest. But privately, I'd certainly be telling Alex, look, you're our number one. We know what you're going to get back to. We know you're having a tough time. We're here to help, and we're here to help you find that form. And it's one game of 2019, and I'd say he's at fault for potentially 2 of the goals. At fault, not totally his fault. So let's just not get carried away. And if I'm Alex, I'm just saying, just relax. I know what I'm capable of. I know that I'm good. Loosen up a little bit and be positive. That's the 2 things that I'm going to say. I don't know. Players don't know a lot about goalkeepers. No. I have to say that.
But he's also, sorry to interrupt, but he's also playing like somebody who expects to receive more goal scoring chances per, maybe twice more than he did the year prior. And he's also thinking that almost every time I've got to make a save here, because it could be the difference making the game. And that's different to the 2017 mindset.
Yeah, and he's unsure about who's going to be in front of him. There have been so many different partnerships in front of him. And I don't think he's ever going to be a goalkeeper that really will excel with a back 4 or a 2 or 3 central defenders who play pretty high. I don't think that suits him. So I think maybe the line of the team maybe affects him a little bit as well. Maybe that's something that they'll look at to try and change, because I do think they're playing extremely high.
He did tell me when I did an interview with him a week ago that they've worked a lot on his possession game this off season.
Yeah, so. But and he's got better at his possession, but he's never going to be a brilliant possession goalkeeper.
That was my point initially with the ceiling. And at the end of the day, he's got strengths, and I think you got to play to them. He's not going to be Zach Steffen's distribution. He's not coming.
But get back to your strengths. Like they're working so much on his distribution and how he's going to play out for the back, and he's only going to get so much better. But he's lost the things that he was really good at. So get back to the things that he's really good at, and that's what I would be doing if I was Toronto FC. And if I was speaking to Alex, I would just say, just be confident and just relax a little bit, get back to the form we know you can get, and we're all rooting for him. He's a great guy. He works extremely hard, and he's doing the right things to try and get back to that form, and we think he'll get there.
Last question, and once again, thank you so much for everyone to sending in their questions. Isaac asks, is Kalidou Koulibaly the ideal center back for United to target in this offseason?
I'd have no problem with that. I think he'd be brilliant for United, and I think they need one. Without question. They need somebody with presence, somebody who can make a lot more players around him better, and they need a leader. And Lindelof's the best centre back they've got right now, and I think he's better off as a number 2.
Yeah.
So look, it's going to cost you a lot of money, because there's a lot of teams out there who need genuine top quality centre backs. But he'd be tremendous signing for them.
Yeah, he'd be outstanding. He's one of the best guys, if not the best out there that's available now. He's going to cost 100 million at least, probably, because everybody's going to want him. And Lindelof was terrific again today. We didn't mention him earlier, and I think I'm right. I'm with you, KJ. You're right in saying he's a second centre half, so a Koulibaly or something like that. I also think Alderweireld, well, they can get him from Tottenham, would be very, very good.
Sorry, Sean.
Maybe a cheaper option. Sorry, Sean. And Manchester United are going to get your manager, your centre half, and probably Winks
Kane
as well. Kane, yeah. Anyway, but Koulibaly's terrific. Alderweireld's a little bit different, but maybe Alderweireld's a cheaper option. But if you can go and get Koulibaly, he wants to go to United, go and pay it. We said it in the past, KJ, with Van Dijk.
Yeah.
Do we even think about the number anymore?
You never
He's
do
the
if
best.
they're good.
Just get the best, And if he's the best, you can get him. Go and pay 100 million.
And talking about the best, by the way, it was 13 months ago that Man City spent £59 million on Emery Laporte, and they just extended him again to 2025.
Wow.
So within 13 months, they went, we already had a contract with you till 2023. We're going to give you more to 2025. So talking about, no one ever speaks about Laporte for 59 million either, because he's worth twice that, isn't he?
Yeah.
At least.
Brilliant player.
All right, that's the end of the show. We didn't go too long. Hopefully, we can get our staff members to go watch the Academy Awards. Are you going to watch Academy Awards?
I'm going to watch it, yeah.
I'm not
Lady
interested.
Gaga.
Not interested. Oh,
Star is Born. I loved that movie.
Oh, did you?
What do you think, Clay?
You like that movie?
Nod.
No.
Clay didn't like it. I loved it. Brilliant movie.
Didn't watch it.
Bradley
Sorry.
Cooper was amazing.
Was he?
Oh, yeah.
We can keep going here if you want to keep talking about movies.
Start a Oscars podcast.
There you go. We did give the awards for our predictions for MLS, so we could have had an award show tonight.
I would have loved that. I love awards. I'm like Clay.
Yeah, we could have made our own awards. Maybe we'll do that towards the end of the season. We'll have our own Academy Awards here.
Yeah.
Our football pod
be good.
awards show. But we've been talking way too long, so if you're still with us, you're amazing. Next time we are in the studio, Major League Soccer will be underway. By the way, talking about awards, this is an award-winning Saturday next week. You've got the North London Derby. We've got Man U and Man City playing at 10 a.m. on Saturday. How often does that happen? We have that on TSN. Followed by Toronto FC kicking off against Philadelphia Union. Followed by El Clasico. Then the Whitecaps are playing. We're going to have all that covered next week. We're going to be there.
Can't wait.
We're going to be there for you.
So many games.
A marathon of games on next week. So we'll have that next for you next week. And a reminder, on Thursday night, as we said off the top of the show, we're going to be doing our live foot show. So if you're in the Toronto area, tickets are still available for our live show on Thursday, February the 28th at the Rivoli. Head to afootballpodcast.com to buy tickets. Thanks for listening. I'll speak to you then.
Thank you.